So I think the first thing that comes to mind is, how did you get this made?
Well, I got an email from a gentleman who ended up being the director of this film, Rocky Romano, and his partner, Miranda Winters. I'm still choked up, and it's weird because I've seen the film before, but I don't know why it got me a lot today. And they were from a company called Winters Rock, and they had seen this short film that the Dodo had made about Blue Zeus, and the Dodo sometimes followed our stories, and they decided to do a 7-minute video about Blue Zeus and his family and the whole reunion with a lot of that video that I'd taken. And Rocky saw this Dodo thing. It went out on Christmas Day, and he saw it and decided that it should be a movie, and wrote me an email, and we started talking, and he came and he sort of made a little sizzle reel and got some funding for it, and then we just started on this journey of making the film. And it's funny, when I look back on it, I often wonder, why was I filming all of this? Filming outside the prison or at the adoption events. And a lot of the time it was just Janelle on her phone filming me, but I didn't ever really know what it was for, because it was so long before anyone asked to make a movie about it. But I always had it in the back of my mind that I would love someone to make a movie about wild horses. That all the movies I had seen about Mustangs had been very talking heads, and it was like they would go and interview the BLM and then interview the stakeholders and interview advocates, but at the end of it, you didn't really know who was right and wrong. And I felt like by telling the story of Blue Zeus throughout the movie, and then having some of the interviews that you saw, and that was an extraordinary thing that Winters Rock did, in getting interviews with people who had never sat down for interviews before. The Coutures, the helicopter company, they had never spoken to people, and the BLM guys, and getting one of the BLM, the Wendy Whitman, who's the whistleblower, who said a lot more. We've toned down a lot of it because we tried to make it less political as well, but we also, I'm really sorry for you to have to sit through the roundup footage, because it's very difficult to watch, and I can hear people be upset by it, but at the same time we couldn't not put it in there, because we really want a worldwide audience to see this and to understand that it's happening. So that's how the film started, and it took about 2 years really from the beginning, because they went and filmed a lot, and then they wouldn't have any money, and then they would go and get a bit more money and go and do some more interviews and get in an editing suite. And
how did you get the footage of the roundups?
Well, funnily enough, Patricia, who's here, who's the executive director of American Wild Horse Campaign Conservation, which is an organization that we had worked with in the past. They're an amazing advocacy group for wild horses. They filmed all the roundups. They put all that out there, but they had invaluable footage from over the years. And nowadays, the BLM don't allow that kind of footage. They don't allow people anywhere near trap sites. So that footage is actually impossible to get now. But AWHC were so generous to let us use their footage, what we wanted of it, and so that's an extraordinary part. We did go, the crew did go on one roundup, but didn't really get much access, so they used a lot of the AWHC footage. So it's really nice to have Patricia here showing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How many acres do you have on the sanctuary?
We have 9,000 acres in our Oregon sanctuary. We have 2 ranches in Malibu, but we also have just bought a new ranch in Santa Ynez Valley for the seniors and special needs, so that we can take more wild horses up in Oregon. So we're trying to sort of keep the 9,000 acres more for the wild horses and to reunite more families. And we're hoping to buy the ranch next door still, which is 4,500 more acres. So it takes a lot of money, and it takes a lot of people stepping up and helping, and it's been extraordinary. We're so well supported, and people, there are so many people here with Skydog t-shirts on, many of whom have come from so many places like Houston and different parts of Florida, and I was just amazed how far people have come. So I'm really grateful to that as well.
I know earlier people asked me, is there anything you can recommend they can do to help? Also, are there places where people can see wild horses still?
Yes, there are. There are still wild horses across 9 of our western states. And Jamie is an incredible wild horse photographer. She goes out and photographs them in the wild. And actually, without wild horse photographers going out into the wild, we would really never have been able to reunite Blue Zeus and many other families, because the only way we can do that is having photographs of them in the wild and identifying them. Like, I literally have to become a wild horse detective and go to the corrals and literally am looking for a certain star on their forehead or something. So I've gotten sort of, but I will spend, like, I take, hundreds of photographs and then zoom in on them when I get home to try and find a brown horse with one white sock or something. But yeah, there are many things you can do. Definitely things have never been more dire for wild horses than they are now. It's like playing whack-a-mole with the BLM. Every time we solve one problem, and we managed to, with the help of AWHC, we had a lawsuit against the BLM and shut down the adoption incentive program, which was giving people $1,000 to adopt horses, many of whom were going straight into the slaughter pipeline. But unfortunately, the minute we did that, they just used this thing called sale authority, which they usually only use for horses over 11 or that have been put up for adoption 3 times. But they usually only use it for older horses, and they can sell them for $25, like Blue Zeus, or $1, which is what they're selling them for now, like $1 a horse. And they have no protections then, and they're shipping them by the truckload now down to Mexico. And there's a lot of facilities closing because of budget cuts to the BLM and the Department of the Interior. So every time a facility shuts, a lot of those horses are disappearing. There's a lot of disappearing and rounding up going on. So
do we know how many wild horses there are left?
There, incredibly, for the first time in history, there are more wild horses stuck in government holding pens than there are wild and free now, which is the first time that number has exceeded. So there's about 68,000 horses in government holding pens, and there's less than that now living on public lands. So
Jamie, I know you spent years studying and watching, filming, photography, and what have you noticed about the horses, spending so much time around them? How could you tell us how it feels to see them?
It's just incredible to watch. I mean, listening back to what everyone says when they do see them, it just rings so true. One of the biggest things is really seeing their family bonds. I've been with a herd of horses, studying them for 10 years, and I've been able to watch them be a foal, and then a bachelor, and then a stallion, and then have their own family, and they just stick together, and it's incredible. And another interesting thing is sometimes they go against the norm. There's this one band in North Dakota that it's a mom, the mare, and 4 of her children, and that's it.
Is Blue Zeus still with his family?
Blue Zeus is still with all of those members of his family, and we've actually added 5 more mares. We adopted three mares called the Golden Girls, and they were turned out with Blue Zeus, and 2 other Kelpen mares, actually 3 other Kelpen mares, Curly Girl.
He still have babies?
No, he can't have babies. He was gelded, sadly. And he doesn't, We actually do have boy horses at our sanctuary that are gelded, but still mount all the mares in their band, and no one they didn't get the memo about being gelded. So they do live very much as stallions with mares, and it's really nice to see that. But Blue Zeus is retired now. He just lives, he's mostly with Nike, but he's also got such an abundance of mares now. It's like he won the wild horse lottery. He just walks around with a smile on his face. But yeah, they're all still alive and well.
And where can people go to see them wild?
Oh, there's tons of places. There are 10 western states, our public land. So that's Oregon, California, Idaho,
Utah, Montana,
Wyoming, Colorado,
New Mexico,
Arizona.
Yeah.
And then there's some national parks too, like North Dakota and Theodore Roosevelt National Park. And then the closest wild horse herd here is Cumberland, which is off Savannah. It's an island off Savannah, Georgia.
You know, we have sanctuaries for horses in England.
Yes, we do.
Exmoor.
Yes, we do. And New Forest.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're protected. You can't go near them. They've been respected for years.
That's incredible.
And if anybody does want to take action, we do have a website called Blue Zeus the movie, and it explains there's two different things you can do. You can just simply call your representatives or your senator and ask them to. There's a piece of legislation called. I don't even know what it's called. My brain tonight. Well, one thing we push a lot is the SAFE Act, which is a piece of legislation that gets introduced every 2 years, and it's a bipartisan bill, and it would stop the shipping to slaughter of horses across the American border to Mexico and Canada, and that would help wild horses enormously. And there is another piece of legislation.
Wild Horse Protection Act.
Wild Horse Protection Act. It was in the name, the Wild Horse Protection Act, and call your Congress people to co-sponsor that and give it support. But just to tell them that you care about your wild horses and that they deserve to live on our public lands just as much, more so than the cows, because cows are also non-native, and it's fairly obvious that horses did evolve here and should be considered native, which would mean that they were covered under the sort of Endangered Species Act if there's still going to be one. But they would be more protected if they were recognized as native. But yeah, they're all things you can do. I know people have a lot of calls to make all the time now, and the whole political arena is very, very noisy right now, so it is hard to get people to care about wild horses or speak up for them. But we will keep caring and we will keep speaking up. And I think a film like Blue Zeus, it's always been my dream to have this, and now we're just finishing up the film festival circuit. We've actually won Best Documentary Feature at every single film festival that we got into, which has been an amazing achievement. And now we have an agent. We are taking it to streaming channels. We are really hopeful that it will get on something like Netflix or Hulu. That's our dream. So we're pushing for that. And then more people all around the world can find out that this is happening.
So your website is Skydog Ranch Sanctuary.
No, it's skydogranch.org is our website, but there's also a website for bluezeusthemovie.com or .org. But on there is a lot of action that you can take.
So there's a whole list.
Yes.
Well, I think I'll speak for everybody here, but we're honored to have had the movie. It's quite incredible.
Thank you so much as well for advocating for it.
Because you are amazing.
Oh, thank you. You are
So
great.
passionate.